the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
Hey, let's focus on my country. That was the promise of the last election.
We're going to get sucked into a shooting war.
What you're seeing is a very big divide in the MAGA base.
Make Iran great again.
Hello and welcome to the Nexus. As you just heard, the Israel-Iran conflict is splitting President Trump's MAGA movement in a way we've never seen before. Influential die-hard supporters, including Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon and Marjorie Taylor Greene, say it's not America's war. But their leader clearly thinks it is in America's best interest to back Israel and attack Iran. So who should MAGA trust?
I totally support what Trump did. I don't support the neocons.
Not everybody that walks into the Oval Office is for the best interest of America.
More from them in a moment, but first, let's take a look at the splits in MAGA and what the big beasts of the movement are arguing.
The MAGA world is splintering. The big beasts are at each other's throats. Up to now, it appeared there was nothing that would split MAGA from their president.
I love Trump. I love Trump.
And a vote for President Trump is a vote for peace.
The future of America is MAGA. And the future of MAGA is Donald J. Trump.
The party is his. It doesn't belong to anybody else.
But then,
The U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the three key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime.
U.S. involvement in the conflict between Israel and Iran is dividing the MAGA base.
and they're turning on each other.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
One more response to Tucker Carlson criticizing you, saying that you were complicit in the war.
I don't know what Tucker Carlson is saying. Let him go get a television network and say it so that people listen.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
How did this actually happen? Who made these decisions when we had the intel out there that this was not like a thing?
First, about the president's decision, I thought it was bold, quite frankly, brilliant militarily, necessary, and most importantly, effective. So well done, Mr. President.
Out of nowhere comes a war with Persia. How did this happen?
This is historic. He is historic. United States military is historic. This is a big damn day.
We promised no more foreign wars, no more regime change. We promised an America First agenda.
It was a good week for the neocons in the military-industrial complex who want war all the time.
The two MAGA factions are divided into what some would call the paleo-conservative wing of the Republican Party. They're big on nationalism and protecting the homeland, aka America First, and generally not interventionist. In other words, they're against foreign wars. The other wing is made up of the neo-conservatives or neocons. They're characterised by people like Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz and John Bolton. They're all for America going to war, especially on the side of Israel and against Iran, and spreading democracy with the use of military force, the Iraq War being the most stark example. Now the arguments between these factions are turning hostile.
The obsession with Israel. What about the Jews? What about the Jews?
Oh, I'm an anti-Semite now. I'm offended.
I'm
obsessed with the Jews. You just told me
You just called me a sleazy feline.
Trump himself appears to be straddling the two camps, but Israel's war on Iran shows he can lose patience with both.
You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Now the question is, does President Trump know what he's doing? Was that bombing on Sunday a success or failure? Coming up, we'll be asking a top Iranian-American weapons expert.
Two bombs, one after the other, completely destroyed the enrichment hall that housed centrifuges.
But first, how split is MAGA? Scottie Nell Hughes is a Republican political commentator, and Halper Hayes is with us too. She used to work on Trump's transition team. Welcome to the program, both of you. Scottie, I think you can boil it down this way. When you were watching Tucker Carlson versus Ted Cruz, who did you want to win? Whose side were you on?
Well, let me just say this. I was on Tucker's side, but I'm also on the Republican side. And I think that unlike the Democrats are splintering, this splintering's always been there. But in the end, we're always united behind our president. This is the same divide that's happening on the Democrat side.
Yeah, that's a great political answer, Scottie. But your gut instinct was to go with Tucker, wasn't it? And we're going to come back to why that was in a second. Jan?
I'm not really on either side. But where I'm at is that I totally support what Trump did. I don't support the neocons. I'm America first all the way.
OK, let's pop back to Scottie and let her flesh out that answer. So, Scottie, I know that before the bombing raid on Iran, you were tweeting out pretty much similar things to Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene, that this is not what MAGA is all about. What were your main concerns?
Well, our main concerns was, as Jan pointed out, it was America first. What are the interests of America, and will it serve us any if we get involved in another foreign war? President Donald Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, some of those closest to the president advocated on the campaign trail in 2024 that they were going to put American interests first before international issues. What we saw leading up the last 2 weeks, and I think this is why we'll come back together behind Donald Trump, and we are back together behind Donald Trump, is this idea that we're not going to get involved in any more foreign wars, and we are actually going to, if anything, de-escalate and bring peace, because Donald Trump is the ultimate deal maker. And I think the pressure that we saw over the past week by people like Tucker Carlson and Thomas Massie, Alex Jones, Steve Bannon, is the reason why you saw this shift in the last 48 hours that ultimately brought peace to the region.
Are you saying that it was the likes of Bannon and Tucker Carlson being very vocal that meant that Trump was under pressure to keep this to a very limited strike?
Absolutely. I think what you had was Lindsey Graham and Chuck Schumer and all of them, because you also have to remember, here in the United States, we have the big, beautiful bill, Trump's big, beautiful bill going through the Senate. So obviously Trump was having to have these conversations with what we consider to be the more neoconic senators, and I think they had his ear. What you had on the reverse, though, luckily, was Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, getting to Donald Trump Jr. and others saying, no, 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 the base, the people that elected Donald Trump that were both Republican, Independent, and Democrats do not like this intervention, do not want to see the United States go into war, especially putting boots on the ground. And I think that's what's ultimately saw Donald Trump shift back to this America First policy, which brought peace to the Middle East.
And Scottie, in a word, you're glad that it is stopped where it has so far?
Absolutely.
OK, Jan, you were mentioning in your first answer that you are America first. How do you square that with America apparently doing, according to the paleoconservatives, Israel's bidding?
Well, look, we have always been an ally to Israel. I think what concerns me most is this knee-jerk reaction and immediate assumption that just because we sent our bombers over there, just because they bombed for 4 hours successfully, we didn't put any boots on the ground or anything like that. People have gone nuts. You know, they've made assumptions. And if you know Donald Trump, one, when he went after Soleimani, he did it once, done and dusted. And to make assumptions that somehow we're going to go into war with Israel when we totally want to stop that. But what is one action, one time of support? You know Donald has done it before. That doesn't take away from the fact that he still wants world peace. You have Iran that wouldn't negotiate. So where is diplomacy in there?
But Jan,
sometimes you have to show strength.
Here's a little problem for you. Some intelligence agencies in the United States say it's not over. According to some independent experts looking at the satellite imagery, Iran still has large stockpiles of enriched uranium, which it may have moved before the strike. So would you support further strikes?
I would support Israel making further strikes.
And if they need to use the B-2s?
Well, you would have to really convince me of the intelligence, because I don't always trust what leaks come out or what information is told to us.
No, and neither does Donald Trump. Can I just ask you about that particular split within the cabinet? We have Donald Trump on Air Force One. Have a listen to this Q&A, and it relates to Tulsi Gabbard.
So you've always said that you don't believe Iran should be able to have a nuclear weapon, but how close do you personally think that they were to getting one? Because Tulsi Gabbard testified in March that the intelligence community said Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon.
I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having one.
So, Jan, that's a real heartbreaker for anybody who loves MAGA, isn't it? Tulsi Gabbard falling out of favor with Trump. How did that happen?
Well, see, once again, you're calling it falling out of favor. Aren't people allowed to disagree? We've become so tribal. You can't say anything bad. You can't disagree. The fact is that we've known that that's a position that Tulsi Gabbard comes from. And so it's no different than him bringing in Bolton, although he had a strategic reason for Bolton in Trump 1.0. And that was to take him to North Korea with him.
Let me ask you about this. Donald Trump wouldn't even allow pictures of Tulsi Gabbard in the Situation Room to be published, or at least there's only one picture of her and lots of pictures of everybody else.
Well, he didn't include her in the preliminary meetings because he really didn't want her opinion. He couldn't leave her out of actual effort, but they're not in agreement. Okay, so they're not in agreement, but yeah. I don't really trust our intelligence community because there's always conflicting things, and we still have the problem of people in there who want to sabotage Donald Trump.
So you're talking about the deep state. We're going to get to that in a minute. Scottie, just one last question on Tulsi Gabbard. So she's now tweeting, only President Trump could have achieved this historic ceasefire agreement. Scottie, how do you feel about Tulsi Gabbard changing her position?
I don't think Tulsi changed her position. And let me say, I'm 100% in agreement with Jan, except on one little element. I don't think Donald Trump and Tulsi were ever at odds overall. I think what happened, and we saw it multiple times throughout the last week during this event, is that someone comes to Donald Trump and tells him some misinformation on Tulsi of what she had. I think they were 100% agreement. Let me point out, when Tulsi made that initial comment, she had John Radcliffe, the CIA director, sitting right next to her. And if that information was wrong at that time, John Radcliffe, who obviously is not necessarily the biggest Trump supporter, would have said while they were under oath in front of Congress, that is false information. I think what Tulsi spoke of at the time was exactly right. And I think whoever had talked to Donald Trump before he did that interview falsified what Tulsi had said or had mischaracterized her position, because I guarantee Tulsi and Donald Trump are in the exact same viewpoint, because we would not have gotten this outcome that we did without her intelligence.
Good. Jan alluded to some forces within the U.S. government trying to hold Donald Trump back, trying to take him off course. Can we just have a quick listen to Bannon and Tucker again? They're actually talking about the CIA here. Have a listen to this.
That's the way the agency's structured. There's no civilian control of the CIA.
Yes. Well, you know better than anybody, but it runs the way it's going to run. I mean, we send Pompeo over there.
It's an army. It's a business. It's a government agency. It's a country.
It's a venture capital firm.
It's literally a venture capital firm, and its budget is unknown. Its reach is, and
we have no idea what they're doing. They will also look you right in the eye.
Oh, I know.
And lie to you. Because that's the wilderness of mirrors, right?
It's look. And they're smart. Somebody said to me the other day, someone knowledgeable said, the problem with the U.S. government is like, why can't we do this or that? And like, if you wanted light rail, we couldn't do it. And this person said, because all the smartest people in government are at CIA.
Jan, do you believe all this about a deep state or a permanent civil service or whatever, especially the CIA, having the power to direct foreign policy, even to take America to war and to shape the president's ideas?
Well, just like in the UK that there's a shadow government, there's definitely a shadow government going on in the US, and the CIA would like to think that they're the shadow government, and they've gotten away with a lot of things. There is not government or congressional oversight with them, and they have been used. I mean, if we go back to Iran, when when Iran wanted to nationalize the oil and the British were upset about it, they used a CIA agent to go in there and throw out the head of Iran and put someone else in who actually was more agreeable with what the U.S. would do. And so they have been doing this for years and years. They have had uncontrolled power.
Scottie, quick answer from you, please.
Jan is absolutely correct, but this is what made this past week very interesting, because the same people, the Lindsey Grahams that have been aligned with, have been against Trump in so many different issues, aligning with him on this made us know that there are people within his own administration, with his own party, that are wanting to sabotage his success in this term.
So who wins in the long term, Scottie?
Donald Trump and the American people, guaranteed.
But just a final follow-up there, Scottie. The polls would suggest that the majority of American people are not in favor of taking further military action. So this is now down to Donald Trump to persuade them that what he's done and will do in the future is good for America.
It's about the future. And then what I can say is I think this was very eye-opening for Donald Trump, and a reminder from his first term that not everybody that walks into the Oval Office is for the best interest of America and for the Trump administration. And I think this was exactly the reminder he needed before moving forward.
Scottie Nell Hughes and Jan Halper Hayes, thank you both very much. Really appreciate that. Well, hours after the United States bombed Iran's nuclear facilities, President Trump told the world it had been a total success, and so did the U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
The strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
It was an incredible and overwhelming success. The order we received from our commander-in-chief was focused, it was powerful, and it was clear. We devastated the Iranian nuclear program.
A former Pentagon official, David DeRoche, told us that bombing Iran's Fordo nuclear facility from the air was not actually the best option.
Well, I never thought that it was a good military strategy to attack the nuclear sites from the air, because you would not know, you couldn't be assured of what you hit, and you can't be assured that you've destroyed what you want to destroy. And we're already seeing people saying, well, the Iranians right after it said, oh, we took everything out of there months ago. And, I don't necessarily believe them. I think but what's important is that there's now uncertainty, and there'll be uncertainty for about 20 years unless there's regime change or, unless the stuff turns up in Tel Aviv, like the Iran nuclear archive. So I think that doing this, there's less personnel risk, but I think that what they needed to do was a raid with soldiers going in and out, like they did at the Revolutionary Guard missile factory in Maysap, Syria. That would have provided certainty. So now we've punished Iran, but we have uncertainty as to the whereabouts of the enriched uranium.
Well, very interesting points there from David DeRoche, and we can put some of them to Fazin Nadimi, an Iranian-American military analyst at the Washington Institute. Fazin, welcome to the program. The key thing everyone wants to know right now is Donald Trump right when he says that he's destroyed Iran's nuclear facilities and he's put back their nuclear program by decades?
I think President Trump is right about inflicting major damage to Fordo and Natanz facilities. I don't think Fordo is usable. And if Iran is going to restart its enrichment program, they will have to do another digging and another site somewhere, probably not far from Fordo, but Fordo is unusable for sure. With regard to Natanz, I think the post-imagery analysis suggests that again, two bombs went in one after the other and completely destroyed the very one enrichment hall that housed centrifuges.
But Farzin, what about the Iranian claim, and even the claim by one particular American intelligence agency, that says that the Iranians moved the enriched uranium before the Americans bombed them?
Well, according to President Trump, Iranians didn't have time to do that. Probably he had intelligence to support that version, but many other analysts, I understand, that have the suspicion that at least some of the enriched material might have been moved elsewhere, and I think that could be the case. In that case, if those materials are hidden somewhere else, in an Arak site, for example, or in Isfahan's or in Natanz, under a newly built underground but unfinished underground site, they can make use of some of those advanced centrifuges that they have somewhere else. They in uninstalled or dismantled form, and they can fashion together, put pieces together, and make some Frankenstein-style centrifuges and create a small cascade and enrich them to 90%. That might theoretically be possible, but I think it will take time. It will take a lot of time, and by then there might be intelligence that point Americans or Israelis to the point, and they might be able to follow up with the strikes.
Farzin, just briefly, the satellite images showing trucks in Fordo. Some have said that they are trying to fill up the tunnels that go into Fordo. Some have said that those trucks were taking away enriched uranium. Which do you think it is, if either of them?
Well, that is quite a possibility. However, I think enriched uranium, they are kept in small canisters, and they can be moved with small vans. And I don't think they needed those big dump trucks to move enriched materials.
Right.
I think those dump trucks were used to bring in dirt to fill in the entrances, probably to prevent contamination, or to prevent Israeli commandos or anybody else to get in the tunnels.
Exactly. Now, a former Pentagon official, David DeRoche, has just told us that he would not have bombed Fordo from the air because you just never know what the impact was inside. You'll never know for sure if it was all destroyed or not. He said he would have proposed commandos going in and taking photographic evidence and so on. Was there a better way to destroy Fordo?
I think that would be the best way to ascertain that any material or hardware or more importantly, probably the documentation have been accounted for and destroyed or brought back for intelligence analysis. However, there might be reasons that they didn't do that. I think theoretically it was quite possible. There is a very good airstrip not far, only 19 kilometers northwest of Fordo facility, and they could land FC-130s, and the commando team could drive into the facility. I don't think it was very well protected, and with air dominance overhead, I think they had little problem getting into the facility and getting downstairs and taking a good look and putting explosive and destroy things. I think that would be the best option. Probably Israelis and Americans thought that they didn't have all the time they needed for that. They were in a rush, or they thought that GBU-57 was designed to destroy Fordo. Let's give it a chance.
Fazin, just a final question, slightly off topic. Israel has bombed very specific targets in Iran. I know that you've mapped those attacks out. Can you tell us the significance of them? I believe some were Basiji, Evin prison. Can you just take us through that?
Well, Israel had a very long list of targets, and they covered military-industrial facilities, military units, and also, as you said, very importantly, for Iranian people, if they took the opportunity, the security services and security headquarters, especially in Tehran, which is the capital, which was the site of major uprisings in the past. The Sarallah security headquarters, which is a special IRGC Basij headquarters in northern Tehran, which under control of the IRGC, the former ex-IRGC commander and then his successor. And there were other major police headquarters, Basij headquarters, special Basij units, who are trained to suppress popular uprisings. They were targets. And Evin prison, I think, was a symbolic target, and they were signals to Iranian people that if you want to rise up, and that's the best opportunity. But I don't think Iranian people might be in for a regime change themselves or a high casualty uprising right now. But I'm sure they will exploit any opportunity that they could get after a regime collapse. Right now there is a ceasefire, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure when this window of opportunity will open or close, to be honest. But Israelis went after their primary objectives of nuclear sites, the missile industries, missile bases. They were methodically attacked and not completely destroyed. I've surveyed some of the sites that are using satellite imagery that were attacked. They were very, very selective.
Farzin Nadimi, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And thank you at home and on your phones for watching. If you want to see this or any of our previous episodes, do go to our channel on YouTube. Just type in Nexus TRT World. Until next week then, goodbye.